a little bit as them. Um, so they're very protective of their ancestral tombs, and so something being able to even get into here is unheard of. Let alone that it tried to get into your family tomb. Like this is the kind of shit where like the city guard would be notified and they would like hunt down this beast and make sure that it was slain in the most painful way possible, kind of thing.
Okay. Are the other tombs damaged at all? Like the ones neighboring mine, or is it just my family's?
Yeah, so you start looking around and you start to notice that not all of them, but a decent number of them also have these markings. And your family's tomb or family gravesite is a little bit older than most. Like usually like families and divisions of the families kind of have their same thing. So like, you know, your second cousins or like the tomb next door, et cetera, like kind of thing. And a good majority of them show wear and tear, and maybe it hasn't been seen because as a whole your family's just kind of gone to the wayside. I mean, you're the last of your lineage, and a number of the other family have also either died off or gone to other families, you know, married into other families where they would then put themselves in those. So this is a little bit more of a rarity in an area. Things are a lot more dusty here than usual.
Okay. And that's basically all I can determine, right? Like there's nothing else
At
I
this
can
point,
really dig up.
Yeah, at this
Okay.
time, that's basically what you can get from that investigation.
All right. So
And I'd also say it's fairly
I'll
recent.
make sure that I'm safe. Okay. So it's recent. I'll make sure that I'm safe in the area, and then I will actually go back to like the entrance of my tomb and just start narrating what's been going on since the last time Thorgil was back to Grasnig. Just like, you know, giving details about his adventure, what's been going on with him, tying into sort of that ancestor worship.
Right, yeah, regaling your tales to your ancestors so that it can go into the annals of history, kind of thing.
If I'm picturing this correctly, it's not like this is like a happy moment for you, right? Like you still feel like you're kind of communing with your parents in some way.
Yeah, kind of happy, but also sort of somber. Like,
okay,
compared to when we were in Watcher's hideout, telling people at the bar all the stories and stuff, this isn't really.
So it's not
like
a wake.
It's a lot
like
more.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot
so
more factual, honest. He's getting his feelings out, his deep feelings that he wouldn't share with almost anyone.
Yeah, because I'm visual, and I was trying to figure out like what your face would look like right now, you know.
Yeah, I feel that, and Thorgil, you know, let me, you know, correct me if you're wrong or I'm wrong, but I see it more as like the because they are here, this is what I have done for the family name. This is the legacy that I'm putting down. Still communing with the family for that kind of emotional attachment of hi mom, hi dad, this is what I've been doing kind of thing. But also there's almost a ritualistic aspect to it where like the echo of heroes in the city is where the happiness happens. That's where everyone drinks and tells stories of their family, the greatness of the heroes, of the, you know, their legacies and things like that. That's where the raucous dwarven portion of this ancestry worship happens. But here it's the honest, it's the family unit tribal, you know, conceptuality of the ancestral worship.
Yeah, exactly. So he's down there doing that for a while. I mean, it's been 3-ish years years since last time I was here, so it does take a long time. And once he's done, he stands up, sort of gives a bow, and returns the way he came.
Okay. Beavis, what have you been doing?
Well, I spent most of the night relapsing.
Uh-huh.
And then I had a bit of a drunken epiphany, which most of us should know is common. And well, okay, so I was thinking that you guys would see him first, but when you get back and you see Beavis, you'll see that he looks different. Since you've met him, he's been wearing relatively fine, like thick robes, and you can tell he kind of came from wealth, even if he doesn't want you to know it. But when you get back to the tavern, you will see that he's wearing a slightly tattered, kind of strange robe that's covered in what look like patches of objects. Like you can see like sewn in daggers on a sleeve, but it's actually a fabric dagger. You see like a door, you see a lantern, just kind of strange. It looks a little odd. And he's got on one finger this twisted, gnarled like ring made of 3 different kinds of metal that have been twisted together. And if you look at it out of the corner of your eye, it kind of shimmers a little bit. And I won't say he's somber because he's a gnome, but when he speaks now, you can actually understand him. It's not quite as frantically paced. So Beavis is going to wake up kind of late, feeling a little bit down in the dumps, and he's going to wait for you guys to come back.
Yeah. And you guys have seen him work on this. He was a little bit secretive along your travels, but you can only be so secretive in the back of a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like poring over this old robe, sewing these patches.
And Thorgil, you would know that I made 3 servings of a pretty potent health potion because I would have needed your help to make it. I would have needed your healing magic. So we have 3 servings of a potion that can cure pretty much any disease except for plot-protected diseases like the shade sickness.
Well, almost everything up to something like that.
Yeah, if it's not like a crazy curse.
Yeah. That was a curse versus like, but yeah. So Thorgil at one point during the travels, you had worked more like curing gonorrhea and syphilis and shit like that. Like he can rub some goop on you and smack you on the forehead, and then everything's good. Anyways, yeah. So Beavis, you partied all night, and then the next morning they'll see you like that. Balar, you went up to your room. You sent out your familiar to explore Gaznig as a whole. Mm-hmm. What are your plans for the rest of the night before we have everyone return and meet up again? And you can say nothing.
Well,
you're welcome to if you don't.
Well, if Grimalkin actually came across something interesting, I would have gone out to take a look at it, or just continue surveilling through Grimalkin. But
I think the only thing that Grimalkin really finds that piques any of your interest is he finds the labyrinth, which is the library of the city.
Okay.
It's, do I even have a picture of it? Yeah. So he actually flies in undetected and finds this massive library with tons of just the only number of books that you've seen that equals this level was the libraries over in Hostrus when you visited there. However, there seems to be a lot more understanding of like the focus is a little bit different. Things tend to be more oriented towards technology. There's a lot more telescopes and objects for viewing and seeing and manipulating and measuring. Abacuses that run, where you're able to put your hand on it and it does all the calculations through a conduit through your mind, so you don't actually have to shift all the things. There's like a display room of predecessors, kind of almost like a museum of like predecessors of iron golems from prototype 0.1 all the way to like, let's say 7.6, as far as things go. And I think the thing that probably catches your eye the most is inside of this thing. There's this giant orb, which seems to be an illusion of sorts. You're not quite sure, but it actually dictates the movement of the planes around the primal plane itself. And in between the outer planes, which consists of like fire and water and earth and the hells and the astral planes and stuff like that, is where the star layer is. Beavis, you would recognize this because you and your friend often spent time plotting and mapping through this hologram of the library these objects, the celestial stars.
Yep.
And
Some stars.
and basically there's this giant orb that's constantly swirling in different ways and patterns. And occasionally there's a gnome that walks over and looks at it, and you see that they can actually shift it. Like they take their hand and they like grab it and like move parts. I'm thinking kind of like Minority Report or like Iron Man, where like, you got a better idea, Steven?
No, probably a shitty one. I was thinking about those like big stone spheres that you see on like water, and you can like spin them. You know, like outside of like science museums sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit kind of like that. But they're able to like manipulate and change and basically cut apart and then expand and look at it. And this really intricate magical means that, and you can tell like this is the invention of Gaznek. Like this is the epiphany of technological creation as far as like the gnomes are concerned. And it sits right in the middle of this library. And I mean, occasionally you see some of the same faces. There's a elderly female gnome that walks around her. She's got a very tight pulled white ponytail and a pair of spectacles, and she walks around. She looks very old, like she's got lots and lots of wrinkles, but she runs around like probably a gnome that's like a spry teen gnome. Like she did, like, even though she's super old, she has no signifiers of that, but she seems to run around and constantly check on things, and you see her berating a couple gnomes here or there about things and whatnot. But that's about what you get. I think that's probably the most interesting thing for you is knowledge and information is kind of where I think you would magic knowledge and information.
Does that lady have a backstory, or can she be my grandma?
She is a real person, and she is not related to you.
Damn. All right.
I'm gonna call Grimalkin back.
Yep.
I'll have to investigate that.
Okay. So after a little bit of time, everyone works their way back to the short stay. I think that Beavis. Well, we were towards the evening already, so yeah. So I think everyone works their way back and up to their rooms, and we'll see everyone the next day, as far as things go for contextuality's sake in my brain. So as far as Gaznek goes, the morning and evening and things like that are a very difficult thing when the entire city is quite literally in a crevice in the earth. Essentially, you only really get like 5 hours of light where the sun, the zenith of the sun. So they actually use enchanted mirrors to refract light down into the city and expand it, like kind of prismatic like prisms and crystals to kind of split and manipulate light, and that's how like you basically